What did I tell you guys? Be professional in here. Come on now. What's
Yeah,
going on, everyone? Welcome into the College Football After Dark show here live every Sunday night, right here on the Voice of College Football. Make sure if you're first time here, check out all the other team channels, the Big 12, the SEC channel, and make sure you hit like to help this video, share it out. Helps us a lot and helps Mark. And we have our normal panel of people, I'll say it nicely. We've got the Clemson man, Jordan, the USC, the spoiled child himself, Tim Prangley, Mike Fork, delusional Michigan man, the other delusional Duck fan, Spaz, and kind of sad Jackson Johnson tonight. How you guys doing?
I'm being delusional, so.
Pretty good, man. How you doing, man?
We all are.
That's why we're all here. Tim has muted himself, I think, and is confused. Well, I thought
Tim's just worried about playing that Arizona State defense.
Oh man,
I'm more scared about the offense. We're talking about Drew Pine coming at us.
Well, I don't know about you
I
guys.
can't even laugh at that joke because we lost to Drew Pine, so I can't even enjoy that one. That's the worst part about it.
A Drew Pine, Tommy Reese offense. Oof, that's rough. That is rough. I will say, I'm pretty sure though, starting after week 2, I heard multiple platforms and a lot of people saying how week 3 was supposed to be one of the most boring lineups they had seen in college football in a while. And I think we say that every year. But I have to agree. You kind of looked at the lineup of games and went, meh, whatever. And oh, were we wrong?
Yep.
If it didn't start first thing in the morning yesterday, it ended at 1:30 a.m. Central Time last night.
I will say, though, anytime we have a boring week ahead of us, that means upsets or near upsets are coming our way.
Well, next week ain't going to be boring.
Nope,
Oh,
it's going to be fun.
No.
Oh, man.
Someone is echoing, I think. But the as it comes to, is someone echoing or is it just?
I don't hear anything.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah, no, I don't have an echo.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything either.
Awesome. It was just my dumbass. Oops. Or I drop in language tonight. I like it. Don't hate me, Mark. Yes. Next week, we're going to get into next week. Next week is loaded, I think, with exactly what we've all been waiting for. As a lot of, conference play starts. That's when it becomes really important for a lot of the teams. So some of these early losses in the sense of non-con doesn't take away from what they want is in the sense of conference championship necessarily. But it's next week is the whole thing. But this week, I don't know. You guys tell me, what was the most shocking game, the biggest upset and or near upset? Because there was quite a few as I listed out. But does anything really stand out to you guys?
Ooh, I don't know where.
I have to start with Florida, Tennessee. Did not see that coming whatsoever.
Oh, for me, it was Florida State, Boston College, without a doubt. Because you guys, Florida State should have lost the game if Boston College could cut those penalties in by a third. But Florida State loses that game.
Yeah,
what did I say to you in text, Spaz, while we were watching that? It started to look like a blowout, and I was like, "Well, I'm switching the game." Then I saw the score, I went back to it, and I was like, "Boston College is like Oregon had 14 penalties and won last week." Let's up that game, up that number.
What really shocked me was Bama looking very sloppy against South Florida. But what really helped us was stopping South Florida on 4th down, as they were 2 out of 6 on 4th down conversions.
Yeah, and I mean, really, what jumped out to me about that game was it just everything looked hard for Bama offensively, and that was pretty shocking. I mean, it seemed like that South Florida matched the physicality of Bama, and it was I know the rain delay definitely didn't help, but man, that was. I know they did not look great last week against Texas, but that was probably the most shocking performance I think I've seen. I mean, South Florida is not good. I mean, I don't think I need to tell anybody that's listening that they have not been good for a while. This isn't your mama's South Florida teams that were that made it to number 2 in the country back in 2007. No, this is a South Florida team that has won one game in the past 2 seasons.
And they haven't even made it to a bowl game or had more than 6 wins since 2018. And to your point, Jordan, where if it was Jim Leavitt coaching South Florida, I can understand it being a tight game.
Yeah, BJ Daniels ain't at quarterback. There's
and there's no Matt Grothy either.
No.
That shows you a lot, because with Georgia and Alabama both scoring 3 points in the first halves of their games. And again, I know that, Jordan, you can fill me in a little more if I'm wrong here, but South Carolina is, I believe, the worst defense in the SEC, statistically at least, in the SEC. And so I'm trying to figure out what's going on with their offense. Well, they did clean up a little bit. And then what was with Texas? Wasn't it didn't they like 10 points in the fourth quarter?
10-10 in the beginning of the fourth. Wyoming threw that one pick, and then they just unraveled at that point. But yeah, it was 10-10 in the fourth.
So I mean, a lot of these teams are struggling with their quarterback. Well, just their total offensive line and quarterback play and everything. And it's really weird. I'm not saying this; it's early. This doesn't mean 1 week, but it just sure seems like there's the teams that were used to blowing everybody out are really struggling in games, and I'm wondering if that's going to continue throughout the year.
Well, and Spaz, I wanted to make a point to you on what you said, how Tennessee shocked you on that they lost to Florida. The thing about them is Gainesville, Florida is kryptonite for the Tennessee Volunteers. The last time they won in Gainesville was in 2003. Last time they beat Florida in back-to-back years was 03 to 04. Now, you would think this year they would get it done against Florida, but they didn't. Trevor Etienne from Florida had 172 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, 23 carries. And what really impressed me about Florida was that they scored 26 unanswered points on Tennessee. That was what really got me there. Graham Mertz had a fantastic game as well. I mean, in the offseason, people were doubting him, myself included, because I thought he was going to be bad, but I was wrong.
Well, that first game against Utah, he looked terrible.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing, though. And 19 out of 24 completions, he had that. He had 166 passing yards and 1 touchdown. So congrats to Graham Mertz on Saturday.
But here's, talk about surprises, right? I'm not surprised by the result, but Ron, I'm surprised that you're confused about Stanford being an absolutely horrible team. I don't think it's anybody, at least Pac-12 fans that follows. We're not remotely shocked. Did you see what USC did to them? They're a really insanely bad team. So,
well, they were projected to be one of the worst Power 5 teams this year also. And Sacramento State is not exactly a bad FCS team. They put up a lot of points. So that wasn't totally shocking. A little surprising, but
when it's 49-3 at the half, nothing surprises me anymore.
Well, in the Stanford, as bad as Stanford was, the one bright spot they had in their season, especially that showed up during that Hawaii game, the original first Hawaii game, was that their young quarterback. But that dude got knocked out in the first quarter the week before, so he's not there, and so you just saw Stanford in all of their glory last week.
That O-line is terrible too.
Well, there's nothing about if you know what built these great Stanford teams, great quarterback play, great offensive lines, and a solid running game, and then a stout front seven. None of that is in this team, not in this iteration of Stanford football.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that game was that Troy Taylor was
almost as bad as Bama's O-line.
Yeah, that is for sure.
Was that Jackman?
I was saying that Troy Taylor, the funny thing about Sacramento State Stanford was that Troy Taylor was going against his old team. I wonder what the reunion was kind of like, where both teams just like, hey, Coach Taylor, hey, Sacramento State. I mean, that had to have been awkward.
Well, he built them into a FCS power, and then he moves on to, like we just said, one of the worst. You got to remember, you guys, Stanford's not a lot of teams. UCLA talk about how hard it is to get their academics and bring these guys in. Oh, we're in such great constraints and blah blah. But when it comes to Stanford, they're not taking grad students. They're not taking NIL money and NIL transfers. So it's just a completely different animal compared to, I would say, 99% of college football these days. So they're
not only do they not take grad transfers. I mean, the guys that stay for 4 years, they don't get another year. I mean, so they have to leave, they have to transfer out. And so
they just changed the offense from what it has been since Harbaugh, basically. They just basically changed the offense. So there's a huge adjustment and growing period they're going to have.
Well, they had one arm, like Jordan, you're saying, behind their back. Now they got two hands behind their back. Now that everybody's with the transfer portal, with NIL, it's just either somebody's got to change at Stanford, or Stanford's just gonna have to pick a different sport because it's not gonna work.
Hey, Tim, and it's Ben, right? I think
that would be me.
Anyway, hey, I hope you guys, both your guys' teams, destroy Colorado, man. These Dion fans, oh my, I'm sick of it, man. I can't deal with it. They acting like they just won a championship after going to overtime with Colorado State. I can't do it no more, man. I can't do it.
I will say that was probably game of the week, but rushing the field after beating CSU in 2 overtimes, not the greatest.
It's not even just that. It's the people hyping them up like they're this, like they like every game is a championship game, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Can they beat somebody?
Well, that's not Colorado's fault that every network is blowing them up into the greatest thing in the world. But the one thing I will say is I'm not going to blame any Colorado fan for rushing the field. Do you know how many games this school has won the past 5 years? Every one of these wins must seem like the greatest thing ever happened. So I'm not going to judge them.
Yeah. I'm not talking about Colorado fans. I'm talking about bandwagon Dion fans is what I'm talking about. Fans that all of a sudden, I didn't know Colorado had as many fans before Dion came here.
They didn't.
I didn't even know.
Okay, that's partially true, but here's what I'll also say about it. I completely undersold what Dion would do coming into the beginning of the season. I was on that boat saying, I don't see 4 wins here. I'm seeing a 3, maybe a 4-win team. But what Dion and Shedeur have done, and Travis Hunter and Weaver, and Sean Lewis with that offense. But here's the kicker. They have one of the worst defenses, if not, up there, worst defenses, probably next to ASU in the Pac-12. And that's what's going to hold them back. I mean, if you guys think
they should have lost that defense, game.
Wait till you see Colorado's defense against up in Autzen next week.
Yeah, that defense.
After that game, I don't think they're going to. Yeah, after that game, I don't think they're going to beat. I don't think they're going to beat Oregon or USC.
Well, I think Colorado's defense, their problem is mostly the front seven. I think their secondary could be.
Yeah, I've never seen that many crossing routes get completed in my life.
Well, now with Travis Hunter out, it's just going to be even more of a problem. Bo Nix is going to be looking at that secondary and just picking them apart. So it's going to.
And Caleb Williams.
Yeah, because that was one of the questions later in the show was how big of a loss is Travis Hunter for Colorado, and that's a big loss. He was one of their key receivers and obviously key secondary members.
Well, I mean, their offense didn't do nothing for 3.5 quarters.
Well, the problem is you guys ever seen a championship team or even a strong team that, they can't run the ball and they can't defend the run? Because that's Colorado. They can sure as hell throw it, and they sure as hell can defend. Well, when they had Travis Hunter in there, really great corner. But now again, going up against like Oregon, USC, do they play Washington?
I believe so.
They play Washington State and Oregon State.
Okay, all right. So,
okay.
They play Utah on rivalry week, of course.
They play Notre Dame?
No.
Oh, I thought you said that. I thought I misheard that.
No. And to David here, he's out 2 to 3 weeks right now. That's what is being told right now.
And you know what? Listen, we're crapping on them, but you guys, this was one of the worst teams in football last year. Deion Sanders did come in. He brought in a great staff that like on the offensive side for sure. That has really changed this around. I'm going to be interested to see what their roster looks like next year because it's
here's the other thing, and this is credit to Dion. But if this was prior to the ability to transfer like now, and he would have done this because this roster is not the roster that went 1-11. A lot of people don't understand that. This is a whole new roster, which to me makes it less surprising because he brought over a bunch of good players. Travis Hunter, his son at quarterback. I mean, I think they only kept 10% of the scholarship players that were on the team. So it's not like he took that bad team and improved on the bad team that was already there. No, he pretty much brought a different team to Colorado.
Yeah, but that wasn't the narrative before the season either. I mean, even despite all of that, people were like, man, Colorado, Dion is going to be lucky to win 3-4 games. I mean, we're moving the goalposts now because they've exceeded expectations. But let's be honest, the vast majority of people did not expect Colorado to look as competent as they have through 3 weeks. And we have to keep in mind that Dion, this whole thing is bigger than just Colorado football and what they do on the football field. Deion Sanders is a brand in and of itself, and people are going to pay attention to what he's doing, whether it's whether they're winning the Pac-12 or going 6-6. It's a college football is, and Josh Pate talked about it on the show tonight. College football is an entertainment industry, and Deion is the biggest name in one of the biggest. That will
only go as far as winning, though. If he starts not winning, and he starts winning 6 games a year, 5 games a year, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but winning cures all, and losing destroys everything. So, he can start losing every other year, and then the hype's gone.
We have to see what he does. This is his first year, the only year in the Pac-12 for him, with him, because then they're going to the Big 12 next year. But we have to also make a comment here and note, please, everyone, Mark is doing preview and analysis of all the big games this week, starting with the Notre Dame-Ohio State live stream tomorrow, Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And then there will be a watch party, I believe a Patreon YouTube member watch party this Saturday also. Not sure if it's for this game, but Mark will let you know. So make sure you check Patreon and become a YouTube member to get those special features and access.
And not only that, but when you become a Patreon and YouTube member, you get some of the best insider information in all of college football.
Do we know Mark's record this year?
I have access to the spreadsheet. I've been.
Oh, you're fancy. I don't.
I had a brutal week, so don't look at mine. But look at some of the other experts.
Most parity in college football since 2007. You guys agree?
On paper, I mean, from a bird's eye view right now, yeah, I'd say this is about as uncertain of a season as we've had, at least in the playoff era. Maybe you could probably.
I think I said it last week. I was like, this is already feeling like a 07 year. The way some teams have looked.
Yeah,
someone kind of up and down.
Well, and I believe Stephen Willis, the host of Locked On Ole Miss, said this is 2007 on steroids.
Oh, there we go. Mark just clarified. Watch party for everyone. You don't have to be a Patreon or YouTube member, but please do consider joining the Patreon and YouTube membership. Way to sell it, Mark.
Okay. There are
watch party for everyone.
Live streams there will be exclusive.
I'm totally shocked that ESPN is going to South Bend.
I'm not.
Why would you?
Yeah, wait. What? I'm missing it. What would the?
If Clemson hadn't lost week 1, maybe it would be different. But I don't see.
I guess that's where I thought they were going to go for sure. Was Clemson, Florida State, just because Notre Dame is NBC, and so usually they tend to go to a game that they're going to be broadcasting or be a part of, and with NBC and Notre Dame's broadcast rights, there's nothing for ESPN to do.
Yeah, but I guess if they hadn't made it a nooner, like maybe if it was like in the 3:30 slot, it might have been different. But but the fact that Clemson, Florida State is at noon, I don't think they really had much interest in going there.
If they only did their own games, then they'd never go to Tuscaloosa or Athens or Baton Rouge because those are all CBS games up until this year.
Right.
Yes, they do.
That's what I'm saying. They do. Because those are all CBS games. So it doesn't necessarily be an ESPN game for them to go to College Game Day.
Yeah.
No. It's been that way for pretty much my whole life, really.
Well,
I just wonder if Notre Dame is unbeaten and if Duke's unbeaten going into week 5, I wonder if game day will go to Duke Notre Dame.
They won't go same team twice in 1 week or twice in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's why they won't come to Eugene this week.
No, Spaz, they're not going to Eugene because no one wants to go to Eugene unless they lose a bet.
Well, they just get Colorado, yeah. So they'll get that rich. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be like if it's undefeated, it'll be Duck Huskies, in Washington. That's probably
in Seattle, yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be the game day as for that. But
and they'll both be coming off bye weeks too, so
you should ask Mark this because next to the AP poll, Mark loves debating where game day is going to be. It's you guys. So hit him up on Twitter. Those are Mark Rogers' 2 favorite topics: the AP poll and where game day will be next week. Hit him up, Mark Rogers, the voice of college football.
Wait 1 second. This week wasn't Washington's bye week?
No, they what? No, they beat the hell out of your little. They beat the hell out of your little brother.
You guys,
I think that's the joke.
Joke's flying over your head right now.
Yeah, that's the joke.
No, I know. I'm just making sure he was aware. I want to remind him of that pleasantry he saw on the scoreboard during the highlights. What other games shocked you? Because of course we had
pretty much every game was shocking.
I mean, we talked Tennessee, Florida a little bit, FSU over BC.
Missouri
Bama was shocking.
61-yard field goal.
We already talked about
shocking
Bama.
too.
Yeah.
Then we have
Texas.
What is going on with Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy? And remember, I'm 40. I mean, now he's like 55 or something like that. But South Alabama.
Gundy's got to be on the hot seat.
South Alabama beat the snot out of OK State.
Yeah, that's
Oklahoma
bad.
State.
I mean, that is not good for Mike Gundy. I mean,
man, South Alabama covered by 33.5. Like, Jesus Christ. And it's the most bewildering thing because I've never thought I'd see an Oklahoma State team this bad as long as Mike Gundy is there. I'm at a loss for words. And looking at the box score, it wasn't even like it was just a straight, butt whooping. There was nothing fluky about it. I mean, Oklahoma State rushed for 94 yards.
Well, it was 23-0 at half. I think 23-0 at halftime.
Yeah, that's bad.
Wow.
So I guess if he wants,
he's got to be on the hot seat.
Oh yeah. I mean, if he wants to name back the locker room, he can always say, "I'm a man. I'm 50 cents."
Or whatever he is these days. Yeah, something around there.
So the debate's up for what's the best conference right now in college football. Everyone's gonna say, "Well, no, it's got to be SEC," but I'm not even going that direction right now.
That was last week, Tim.
SEC is trash.
I'm not saying that. Hold on, time out. You guys, let's stop. Let's not be reactionary to a couple of weeks. Let's wait until they're playing. But there's no doubt in my mind what the worst conference is, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Is there anyone here that would go against the grain? So, Jordan, what's the worst conference in college football right now?
The worst? Honestly, I don't know if it's that clear.
No,
it is.
SEC.
No.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Stop.
Like the SEC, as much as we want to say it, it's still probably the best conference. I mean, we can.
I mean, not through 3 weeks. It's not.
No, stop. It's the Big 12.
I'm just being real.
I don't think this is even a debate. It's the Big 12.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
I didn't want to say
outside of Oklahoma, whose resurgence is this year. I mean, they're looking. They didn't play anybody, just like a lot of teams, but they're looking solid on both sides of the ball. And Texas, obviously, although they had a really weird game last week with Wyoming, this week with Wyoming. The rest of that conference is pretty damn bad.
Yeah,
I mean, West Virginia did beat Pitt, but you know how good's Pitt, right? And
it is. Oh,
yeah, that is
you
true.
mentioned that
You know,
game. That Pitt has been probably one of my biggest disappointments of the year.
I don't know, man. What's the SEC's non-conference record right now?
we
Wait,
also
hold on.
figure the team that won the Big 12 last year just lost to maybe the third worst team in the SEC.
yeah,
I mean,
That's true.
I don't know what you're picking.
not ready to
against for
say that
SEC,
about
but
Missouri,
Missouri's
though.
at the bottom.
Missouri might be better than we think, but I'm not sure. They
Well,
return an
I
experienced defense.
I wouldn't
Outside
be
of
ready-
Georgia and LSU, it's really the conference of the mid right now.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Georgia's going to dominate the SEC again. But on Missouri, I wouldn't throw the cart in before the horse just yet and call them a contender in the SEC.
No, I'm not.
Because
I'm
they're nowhere
yeah, I
near
think
that.
I think it's yet to be determined, but I'm not ready to call them a bottom 3 team in the SEC either.
No.
I don't
But
think
it's-
Georgia's that good. Their defense, but their quarterback play is suspect at best.
And
That's
they
They,
have the
they
worst.
can't move the ball.
I think they have the worst
Honestly-
offense. Rushing.
Well, Georgia has the.
I think they have the worst rushing offense in the SEC right now. Don't they?
I'll be honest,
It's horrible.
it's what you get for hiring Mike Bobo.
Can't be
to
worse
your
than South
offensive
Carolina.
yeah. There's an issue.
Well,
I said at the beginning of the
Georgia
season-
has the second best defense in the country right now. So I mean, they got that.
Yeah, but
What
that's
you
not
said,
going to
Tim?
help you in games when you've got to move the ball and you're down 3 points, on the road in Auburn or Tuscaloosa or wherever and you got 90,000 screaming fans and you can't move the ball.
Listen, here's the thing. Okay, as I was when they lost Monken, I'm like, okay, they got Bobo coming in. Bobo was there for not very impressive guy, but they got Brock Bowers. Anyone watch that game? That guy, dude, he just takes over. He reminds me of I'm already forgetting the guy's name from Notre Dame last year, the tight end.
Michael Mayer.
Mayer. When you have these guys that they could take end arounds, there's a secret weapon so fast, so big, nobody can cover them. They're gonna go a long ways. If you have a guy like that, you could have a Tommy Reese as your offensive coordinator. You could have Bobo as your. You're gonna get a lot of bailouts having just a freak like that at tight end. That's all I'm gonna say. And I think again, you guys remember they are breaking in new quarterback. So give them a couple of weeks. Sometimes it takes a new guy to get a couple of weeks to get his feet on him. We don't know what this team's going to be, but I agree. I don't think that Bobo is the right call, but we'll see.
I think they should have gotten Coach Grubb from Washington, honestly. But what's done is done.
That would have been.
Yeah, I don't think you were gonna get him. Just like Bama couldn't get Ludwig.
True.
They wanted him. Shout out here to Matt Ritson for the super chat here. Game day should go to Oregon State and Washington State this week. That would be a great location for them. I really do think that would be, but I don't think they're going to, unfortunately.
The battle for the Pac-2 championship.
Oh man, I want to see what Oregon State, Washington State bring. I mean, it's going to be amazing watching those two. I mean, Cam Ward and DJ Ukulele. I mean, that's going to be a shootout for the ages.
No,
Shootout?
Oregon State's defense is way too good for this to be a shootout. I'm sorry.
Well, the thing is, Cam Ward right now has the best, I believe. Someone correct me in the chat if you want. I believe he's statistically one of the better, if not the best quarterback right now in the Pac-12 because he's been having some game. Granted, who's he played, but I mean, this is a second year. They got a new offensive coordinator up there. They are moving the ball and stuff. So I wouldn't just. I agree with you. I think I undersold Oregon State's defense. They've replaced Spates. They've replaced that secondary. They look tough. They're flying to the ball, but I would Cam Ward can really light up the scoreboard. So it might be a good game.
Cam Ward is third in the Pac-12 in passing yards for the season so far, and he sits in the nation.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I knew his numbers were really good.
Oregon State will do what Oregon State does, though, and as Connor or Clint would say, they're going to play beaver ball, and they're going to keep kind of try to control the clock. That's what they do.
Well,
I hesitate calling it a shootout anyway, because I mean, it kind of went under the radar. But I mean, DJ didn't play.
Hey, possession football is the way to go, my man.
Well, didn't DJ go into that game like number one in the nation in pass efficiency?
Something like that, but I think he threw 2 interceptions and completed under 50% of his passes. So I'm not ready to say that he's, like Oregon State's offense is that kind of offense where they're just going to light up the scoreboard like that. I don't know. We'll see.
They got Martinez at running back, and they do have a really good offensive line as well. So I mean, they got a balanced attack. They're solid. But the defense, Dickert's got that defense playing tough as well. So I'm not saying they're going to be able to stop him. And I think if you ask me who's going to win this game, I'm telling you, I think that Oregon State's probably going to win by double digits. However, I could see Cam Ward making this thing a game. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tim, you talked about.
Actually, Tim, you know what? Sorry, I just looked it up. The Huskies are only a 2.5 point home dog in this game. So there you go.
The Cougs.
That's a lot.
I was going to say Huskies. Are we talking about Washington or Washington State?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Cougs. Didn't I? What did I say?
No, you said Huskies. Oh, yeah.
My bad.
The Huskies are the best team in the pack. So let's slow down there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know that, Blue. Thanks so much for the.
Yeah, tell it to a panel full of Washington, USC and Oregon fans. They love you for that.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt Ritson. I agree with you, though. I think this is where a game day should be this week, but yeah, they're not going to be. Washington
I'll be honest. I'm torn. Oregon
Yeah.
State, Washington State, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I'm torn between the two. But yeah, Tim, to your point where you talked about how Oregon State is a defensive juggernaut, they are first in the Pac-12 in rushing yards allowed per game. Total yards allowed per game, they are first. Oregon State is third in passing yards allowed per game, and points allowed per game, they are third. So I'm
going a little more up the eyeball, Jackson, than anything, because when you go statistics in the first 3 weeks, they're playing FCS schools, they're playing really bad FBS schools. So statistically, it's not going to match up if you're playing even one or two really good teams across the board. I mean, I think I saw somewhere, I was looking at defensive stats, and I saw Georgia down at 17. I'm like, okay, wait. But you got to realize that, not all teams, or Alabama's defense, but not all these guys are playing the same quality of opponent. And so if you
guys know who number one is?
If you're filling yourself up on a bunch of random like little guys, then you're probably gonna have a situation where the other team is gonna look better statistically than they do.
The number one team in defensive efficiency is Texas. So
who's the number one scoring? Do you have curiosity?
I'm gonna guess it's I don't know, the Wolverines, if you're saying it.
Yeah.
They're 5.3 yards. 5.3.
I'm sorry. What's the toughest team? What's the toughest offense you've played, and where are they ranked?
Toughest offense.
Well, when you play Michigan, and you're as dominant as you are, that's going to affect your rating.
Oh my God.
We haven't played an offense inside the top 70, 75 yet.
So like I said, when it comes early season, you start talking about your statistical greatness. Just wait till you play a couple of teams that actually have a pulse, then you can start talking about where you are statistically.
So anyway, let's go back to the question at hand. Who is the worst conference at this point? Back to Jordan, because he never answered, and then we got sidetracked.
I guess I'll go Big 12, but I think it's yet to be determined. But I'd say the Big 12, just because they don't really have any and they've had some really embarrassing losses, and they don't really have any marquee wins to point to.
You talking about the SEC?
Iowa State losing to Bobcats.
Other than Tech, obviously Texas beating Bama.
Texas, Oklahoma, that falls off a cliff.
Yeah, it's a steep drop off. There's not really much after that.
Sounds like you're talking about the SEC.
No, not at all. I seriously, I don't. What are the SEC? Did someone hurt you from the SEC? Because that's a really good.
What's their marquee win?
Let them play some games. All right, they're probably not going to have any non-conference. They blew the couple they had, but all of us overnight. I'm sorry, they didn't go from the best conference with all the talent, the NFL talent, to the worst. That's just crazy.
I'm just judging what I see on the field, man, or what I see right now. Ain't that good. Outside of a couple teams, of course.
Well, I think what we're seeing is we're not just seeing one conference being that much worse or better than the other. We can look at the records, but you have to look at who you played. I think what we're seeing is with NIL, other teams and conferences taking advantage and closing the gap between a lot of different conferences now. That's why
Hey, pull up that Mark chat real quick. Mark's chat real quick.
They do.
Go Blue is scarred from the SEC, killing his team for the last 15 years. Okay, that's my team
Ask
too.
Mark. Ask Mark what. Ask Mark what Ohio State's record is versus the SEC.
Yeah, it's 2-11. We all know that. But
Okay, now we can move on.
Moving on from that.
Hold on. TCU.
Yeah. Okay. Can we end this line of conversation, please? Thank you. Okay. The answer is, like I said, the Big Ten. And I don't even think this is the discussion. But you have to figure, after what Alabama barely did to South Florida, that Texas win lost a lot of luster. Oklahoma is looking good, but they haven't played anybody. And the third best team just lost to. I mean, if you want to call them a bottom feeder, but they are not a good SEC team in Missouri. Iowa State just lost to a MAC team. We could go on and on, but it's clearly the Big 12.
Well, and also Miami, Ohio ended a 16-game losing streak against Cincinnati. So that's not only a bad look for Cincinnati, but a bad look for the Big 12 as well. South Alabama smacked around Oklahoma State, as we pointed out earlier. So that was quite a disaster. But on the bright side, BYU did upset Arkansas last night.
They did. That was good. That was a great game. I mean, but
yeah.
I didn't come away feeling worse about either of those teams. I thought that was just and BYU is just, I mean, they're experienced. They always are. And that was a good game. Arkansas they have some issues, but I think Arkansas is still going to be a pretty solid team.
I mean, West Virginia did beat Pitt.
Yeah,
I think that was a little surprising. It was kind of an ugly game, but I think that's what we kind of expected.
Yeah. The Phil Dracovic experiment, I'm ready to end it, blow it up. I remember his 2020 season at Boston College, and he put up some really good numbers in that COVID year, and he was getting looked at by scouts as a potential, first round pick down the road. And the last 3 years, he's been awful, and through two different, in two different systems. So
he basically got the COVID curse. So it's kind of like, because it's when you do well in the COVID year, you're gonna wind up doing bad. If you have a bad year, it's a COVID blessing, I guess. I don't know. I'm still kind of figuring out the terms though.
Also, how about LSU blowing out Mississippi State? I thought Mississippi State was going to cover. I felt pretty confident about that, and LSU just took it to them. And I mean, Mississippi State couldn't get anything going on the ground, which is what they had been doing for a lot of the year. They looked awful, and LSU it seems to have bounced back from that Florida State loss. So I mean, we might be.
Well, when you're playing in the SEC, you're going to start looking a lot better.
Oh, that's right. They do play in the worst conference. You're right.
Well, and I'll be honest. I feel like Army's gonna have a closer game with LSU than Mississippi State ever would. I mean, Army's kind of scary against Power 5 teams.
I'm surprised that people were kind of picking this as an upset. I did not see it. I mean, Mississippi State, I mean, they basically did a complete 180 on their offense. I mean, if they're kind of, transitioning to from a Mike Leach offense to a run heavy, that's going to have some growing pains. I wouldn't expect much from them this year.
Yeah, I mean,
this Zach Arnett experiment is interesting.
Well,
it's not.
I'm more amazed that Will Rogers, if you're talking Mississippi State, for being as proficient a passer as he was in an air raid through Mike Leach. Yesterday, I was watching it. He couldn't hit simple screen passes, like swing passes. He couldn't hit them. The timing is all off. Everything's it's not clicking in this new system for him. And that guy is a good quarterback, but this system is not working for him.
No,
Yeah.
and if you can't take advantage of the LSU secondary that has shown some warts through 3 weeks,
it was not a beautiful day in the neighborhood for Mr. Rogers as he had
those cowbells fell quiet quickly.
Yeah, they got to go back to the drawing board and start built because what they're doing right now will not work.
Yeah, my man had 103 passing yards and 11 of 28 completions. That's bad.
Yeah, that is.
That's bad for any quarterback at any level, anywhere. That's not good.
This was not the real Will Rogers that we saw from 2020 and last year and year before that.
Hey, how many picks did JJ throw against Bowling Green?
3.
Oh,
Yeah, we getting the bad game out the way, man. You know, chestnut checkers. So we're just getting that bad game out the way, man. Before we get to regular play, man. We're like, let's just get all these out the way, out of the system, and then
But in all seriousness,
then we good.
Is he like smelling his own farts, or like he just thought?
His coach ain't there. You know, he's kind of smelling himself a little bit. You know, I want to be surprised before the game. They're like, hey, go ahead, get these warts out the way. You know, that way, you can kind of find your middle ground.
Not being there,
and then we're good.
Yeah.
This was a blessing in disguise because I tell you now, Michigan fan, I got sick of the JJ for Heisman crap. It's like, that's not going to happen. Quit this. You're not going to – the quarterback for Michigan is not going to win when you got 2 of maybe the top 5 best running backs in the nation, and this is still a run-oriented offense. JJ McCarthy was playing good. He doesn't have to play hero ball. That's his issue. He plays too much hero ball. He just has to limit mistakes. He doesn't have to win games. And I'm hoping this will be a learning lesson for him.
No, that's a good point. He does. The one big reason why he wasn't going to win is because, especially Corum, really, right? And Edwards. But the bigger reason? Because there's 3 quarterbacks at least better than him in this country. So he was never going to win the damn thing. So I was confused last week when someone on the panel was talking about him being the next great quarterback in the world. I can't remember who it was.
I don't know who that was either, but whoever it was, man, I don't know if they wrong yet, but whoever it was,
I'm sure we'll hear more later.
Hey, by the way, Mike Fort.
Yeah,
I know this is a long shot. I want to see Orgy at running back, man.
No,
I do.
At running back, no.
Yeah, I do, man. He's too much of a beast.
Alex
you have to be probably a Michigan fan to know who it is, but
quarterback.
Is that the same one that Robert Griffin III was talking about? Or there's an orgy in the end zone.
Yeah. If you watch this dude run the ball, man, it's hard to. You got to watch him run the ball.
So you want to take. So I understand. You want to take carries away from Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum to give it to this guy? Is that what you're saying to us?
No, it'd be very situational. It'd be like short yardage. Corum would still get the bulk, but I would like to see Orgy. He's too much of an athletic freak who doesn't go down with arm tackles. You'd have to watch him to know what I'm talking about.
Do you guys remember? You guys remember Blake Bell from Oregon about 10, 12 years ago? They called him the Belldozer because he was like a third-string quarterback, but he was like
Blake Bell from Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan State, right? Was it Michigan State?
No, Blake Bell he played for Oklahoma. He was like
yeah. Bell. I thought you said Oregon, so I was like,
Belldozer. I meant Oklahoma. Yeah, Belldozer.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Alex Orgy is basically a carbon copy of Blake Bell from Oklahoma.
No, he's more like Bo Scarborough.
Yeah. Okay. Let's slow up some.
Dude, go watch. You don't gotta listen to me. Go watch the show
back. Hey, get a hold of that show. Let's go.
You guys see this guy talking about the kid from LSU? 1,000 yards passing, 250 yards rushing. He's going to be the next guy. Yeah.
Not Jaden Daniels? No, forget that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Jaden Daniels. He could be like, oh my God, to oh my God. You flip the coin, right? What was that from?
Yeah.
Like that Game of Thrones. So I say they flip the coin. It's gonna be a great whatever, and then or it's gonna be a crazy one. That's his game. Every time he throws the ball, he could have that great game. Same thing with Jaden. Same thing with Delora at Arizona. I think someone brought up Arizona. Arizona, Delora could look great one game and then all of a sudden have like 3-pick game and throw the game away. Same thing with Jaden Daniels, in my opinion. I mean, to be fair though, now he's 2 years at LSU. I mean, people could evolve, but that's the guy that I remember. Maybe he's gotten a heck of a lot better.
Yeah, because that's it. We've had to deal with him, and he's
watching LSU with Jaden Daniels a quarterback. You're doing this the entire game.
I want to give a shout out here too, Matt Ridson. Once again, thank you for another super chat. Kansas almost lost to Nevada, the worst Mountain West Conference team. Yes, I looked at the score, so I was looking up 31-24. Kansas did pull out a win, and Stanford joined the Group of 5, now the Power 4. Yeah, well, Jordan, that is your problem now.
Yay! Well, honestly, those kind of performances fit right in with the ACC. So, hey, I mean, that's really what the ACC has been this year, anyway. I mean, they what, like 4-1 against the SEC or something like that, and then they drop games to FCS teams. I mean, what? Who lost to? Wake Forest almost lost to Old Dominion this weekend.
Oh,
yeah. They should have.
Yeah, probably should have. But hey, 17. I think they outscored them in the second half, 27-7. So that's pretty.
Yeah, North Carolina also barely pulled out a win against not North Carolina. Sorry, who played? No, I guess that was Wake. That's what I was thinking of. I was thinking of a different game.
Yeah, Wake Forest almost fell apart against Old Dominion. I'm beginning to wonder if Dave Clawson is like the Nets' Matt Campbell in that regard.
No, I don't know. I don't know about all that. I think Wake is this is kind of one of those years. I mean, they've been pretty consistent, and it's kind of a transition, but from Sam Hartman to Mitch Griffiths, and they still have defensive concerns, and there's going to be some drop off when you lose that kind of talent. But they still are what. They're still undefeated, aren't they? So 3-0.
Yeah, you can't lose a guy like Hartman and not expect drop off. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Realistic.
Plus, he would get fired.
Man, I can't wait for that ND Ohio State game, man.
If he's like Matt Campbell, he's going to get fired because I don't think Matt Campbell survives this season.
Isn't that crazy? As someone plummeted as fat, actually skyrocketed and plummeted as much as the Matt Campbell in this. Back in 2019, he was a hot name. Yeah, Mel Tucker. There you go.
Mel Tucker. That probably
shows you how hard it is. Shows you how hard it is to be a head coach, man.
No, that's why you shouldn't be on. That's why you shouldn't be on the phone doing certain things with certain people. Mel Tucker.
Right.
That is true.
Well, my question is, who would be a good coaching candidate to replace Matt Campbell if you are talking about firing Matt Campbell? Because you're not going to find a lot of coaches that are going to want to go to Ames, Iowa.
Yeah, you probably have to pull somebody from like what FCS, be my guess,
or Group of 5.
Yeah.
And let's talk about it. The elephant in the room. The Big 12 is not what it used to be. I mean, yes, you're right. So at least we can say the Pac-12 is gone. Ha ha ha. But I mean, what's left in the Big 12? So now you already have you were one of a struggling program in a once pretty good conference. Now what's left of the Big 12, and you're probably one of the bottom feeders. So they're back down to what they used to be. Iowa State was a bottom feeder in college football, and now these are not there. I don't think they're that bad. You know what I mean? They're not as bad as they be. As bad as they are now, they're not as bad as they used to be. So
it's not as bad as they were in 1985. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the only team I could think of worse than them right now would be Baylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the heck's happening there?
There's another one, Dave Aranda. Everyone thought Dave Aranda was a hot name in coaching, and then boom.
That's another one that.
Well, I'll be honest though, when Houston lost to Rice and they were getting whipped by TCU and Iowa State losing to Ohio, it kind of took the attention off Dave Aranda for about a week, as of right now. Because I mean,
that's true. Don't lose to food. Don't lose to food.
Well, if we're being real, the biggest disappointment has to be Nick Saban right now.
Yeah, he's got a lot of credit earned up. But I mean, I think he's going to have to figure out some things, but he's not like he's on the hot seat or anything.
Well, he's the greatest coach of all time. I mean, no one's taking that away from him. But I'm talking about in terms of the talent that they have there. I don't know what's going on, man.
That's the
don't
thing,
get it.
though. I mean, do we really think they have that much talent? Because I can
If
think
we
of a
go
lot
by
of
recruiting rankings, they got more than anybody.
Yeah, they've been like one to two or three, mainly ones and twos over the past like 5 years. It counts obviously, right?
Longer than that.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you don't have guys from 6 years ago on your team anymore.
Well,
So
I know. I'm just saying. Yeah, you're right.
In a
I'm just
recruiting
saying,
cycle, in a recruiting cycle, they're basically as good as you get when it comes to if you want to follow 247 or rivals.
So what's going on, Jackson?
It's called coordinators, you guys. And here's what I'm gonna say about Nick Saban. Nick Saban's had a great run of replacing. That's the thing in college football. Everyone, the head coach gets all the credit, but really, it's your defensive coordinators and your offensive coordinator. I mean, look at who he's lost. He's lost. He lost. It hasn't really been the same since Kirby Smart left. Really, to be totally honest.
Well, Kirby wasn't there for 16 and 17, and that was some of his best defenses.
Yeah, but those were the leftovers of that.
Yeah, he set up that. Yeah, that was his. He built that.
I mean, yeah, the guys that they had on those 16.
And what's his name came in?
One of the greatest defenses I've ever seen that didn't win a title.
What's McDonald's bad guy again? What the hell's his name? I forgot his name. Pruitt came in, right? And he's a whatever he does as a head coach, but he's a good coordinator. So that's why they didn't drop off. And that's what I'm saying though. He's done a great job of getting, the Sarkisian or the Kiffin, to come in, and he's had a great run of replacing coordinators. That's allowed him to do what he's done.
Brian. Yeah.
All right. We gotta let the Alabama fan talk because it's his team he's evaluating. Let him know it's time to mourn,
Well, I will say I'm not liking where things are going against Ole Miss next Saturday. They got a powerful offense. I'm a little nervous. But I will say, though, I'm glad we won, but I'm hoping that being knocked out of the top 10 will motivate the Alabama Crimson Tide. But
their defense, Bama's defense is not bad.
No, it's been
you got to stop this narrative. Their defense is not bad. It's the offense.
Their secondary is pretty good.
Who's your OC this year?
Tommy Rees
from Notre Dame.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot it was Tommy. Okay. Now I get where all the Tommy Rees jokes were coming from.
And he brought over his quarterback, who looked completely terrible against South Florida.
Tyler Buckner.
Yeah, what are you, 3 for 18 or something? Horrible.
Yeah,
what's
a great
baffling
athlete,
about Bama? What's baffling about Bama is the O-line. I don't understand what's going on with the O-line. I've never seen anything like it. Everyone talks about, and it's true, they're bigger than an average NFL line, but they get pushed around like they're an FCS line.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
For no reason. Yeah, pretty much.
Some of the worst pass protection I've ever seen.
Yeah, something I brought up with Jackson beforehand. I was like, didn't you guys give up like 5 or 6 sacks? And you looked up Jackson, it was 5 sacks, between 2 different quarterbacks to South Florida. I was like, you should not be giving up sacks to South Florida.
Yeah.
They need to go back to Milroe
next year.
They got to go back to Milroe because any other quarterback, because they need his athleticism to avoid the rush. I mean, just plain and simple.
Well, I thought they were going to go back to Milroe whenever the rain.
Yesterday?
Yeah, he did. I thought they were going to go back to Milroe whenever the rain started coming out because, I mean, they kept talking about murder balls. Like, when you're playing a rainstorm, that's when you want to run the ball. And obviously, Buckner is not a runner. I mean, if you're going to sit there and focus on just running it down their throats in a rainstorm, Milroe's one of the best options you can have.
Well, apparently the rumor is
they have to go to Milroe because that O-line can't protect them. They need a guy that can evade the rush and make some things happen with his feet because the other 2 guys are getting murdered back there. They're getting clobbered. They got no time to throw the ball.
Well, the rumor was that Milroe was suspended, so I don't. That's probably why they didn't go back to him. But I mean, I certainly would have thrown him out there before I threw Tyler Buckner. And
is that a rumor, or is that factual?
There seems to people that with credit. I mean,
Jackson, is that legit or?
I hadn't heard anything about that.
But there's a rumor, but I don't know. But there's a reason they didn't go to him. That's all I know. Maybe he was hurt. Maybe, but yeah, I definitely.
Yeah, he didn't even take a snap Saturday.
And Tyler Buckner was one of those recruits from that 2021 class that really, or was it the 2021 class that didn't really get a COVID year, a senior year, I mean, and so they didn't really get to go through all the evaluations and camps. And so Tyler Buckner was a guy that was really highly rated early in the process, and because there was a lack of film, he kind of kept that top 100 ranking. But I don't think he's as good as his high school ranking said he was. He's not a very good thrower of the football. But I mean, that could be something that changes down the road. But he just is. Even at Notre Dame, he wasn't particularly impressive. He doesn't have a great arm. The decision,
that's why he
makes some really awful decisions. I don't see it. He's a great athlete, but I don't think he's very good. And
I don't think the quarterback the big of a story is the O-line, man. Like, you could have a quarterback, but you can't protect your quarterback. I mean, there's only so much you can do.
What's so weird though is you go back to that 2021 class. Yeah, J.C. Latham and Tommy Brockmeyer. And those guys were like not just the two top offensive tackles, but they're like two of the best players in the country. And there's more where that came from. That shows you that these rankings, especially when it comes over the years, it's always been offensive line and quarterback. Just seems like the two biggest busts for these 5-star guys. And this just, I'm not saying these guys are busts, but that there's something seriously wrong with that Alabama offensive line.
Well, then, what Jordan just said too is, when you're talking about the 2020, 2021 class, because they didn't get that extra year, some of those rankings were, I think, maybe a little skewed.
Yeah,
not completely accurate because they didn't get that extra year.
Lunch.
Well, I mean, Ty Simpson was a 5-star quarterback. He's not playing like a 5-star quarterback.
Yeah, well, yeah, Ty Simpson is. I mean, he's talented, but I get raw. I mean, he was in the same. I remember because he was Clemson's first. They went after him, and when he committed to Alabama, that they pivoted to Cade Klubnik that class. So he's the talent is certainly there. I don't know. They also have Dylan Lonergan. He's a 2-sport athlete, really pretty highly rated. I think he was a top 100 kid. He's there to play baseball, but he has some really.
We
good
got
arm
one for a backup in Oregon
heard
like that.
So yeah, I mean, maybe that's an option down the road. He's a true freshman, so I doubt they would just throw him out there, but they got to figure out something. I think Milroe is probably their best option right now, and they're just going to have to take their lumps.
They have to. The O-line, bottom line is the O-line can't protect the quarterback, so they need Milroe back there. Bottom line.
Well, looking at
but
that,
Ty's underperformed. So,
looking at that so far in the season, we have to get to next week quickly here too. What team are you most concerned or confident about this year as it stands? Don't be a homer, Tim. Don't be a homer.
Surprised you didn't say that to me.
Well, you too. No, you can be a homers if you want, obviously.
Well, I mean, we just talked about it. I think the biggest surprise this year is Alabama. We thought there might be some issues, with the quarterback, and I had issues with Tommy Rees, but I didn't think that they'd struggle like they're struggling right now. So, I mean, if you had asked me overall, the biggest surprise it would be, I didn't think they're going to win, anything big, but I thought they weren't going to have trouble with their non-conference schedule. That's the big thing. I expect them to maybe a game or two in conference, but I didn't think that this was going to be the situation. And then we said already, and then Colorado's the biggest surprise. Although they'll come crashing down.
Surprise, but you're confident in them? That's what I mean.
Confident.
At this point, who do you say is the powerhouse? Like, you're looking at them, you're going, yeah, that's
really. You know what? The craziest thing is all the top teams in the top 10 have had, unless I'm wrong. I guess Washington's been pretty consistent. But most of the teams that we picked that would be in the running for the national championship, they've all had have had that head scratcher game so far. So that's why you guys were talking about 2007 earlier in the show. The overall just the quality or just the on-field play, the rust that we're seeing on the guys that are probably going to be there at the end. Which one's actually which one's real, which one's pretender? Because how do you score 10 points in the fourth quarter against Wyoming? How do you put up 3 points for the entire first half if you're Georgia or Alabama? I'm sure these are all great teams, but there are some head scratcher performances. So, am I confident in any of them? I'd say if I'm confident in anyone, I'm just going to be confident in Georgia. So but it's blind, it's just a blind thing. Just saying that they got the coaching staff, they got issues at offensive coordinator, but no, I still think Brock Bowers is a machine. So there you go.
I'm confident in Washington right now. I mean, the reason I picked USC to win the West or the Pac, whatever, at the preseason is the same reason, I disqualified Washington. I didn't think their defense would improve. Now it looks like Washington's defense is good enough that it's gonna keep them in the hunt for a Pac title. I mean, I originally thought preseason I said USC and Oregon State. And I'd probably amend it right now to USC Washington because everything I've seen from Washington looks good so far. If they can keep it up,
they can't run the ball.
They can run it good enough.
We'll see. That's
yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I mean, and even the teams we're
Their
talking
top
about,
two
that
running
haven't
backs are
necessarily shown their
done.
worth yet. Even the teams that haven't necessarily shown their warts yet, it's just because they really haven't played a team that could really exploit it. I mean, at the end of the day, we played through 3 weeks. Like not everybody has played a game that is.
Well, we're gonna find out a lot this week.
Yeah, week 4. Yeah, this is a pretty loaded week, but it's still a long season. Even after week 4, we're still only a third of the way, and teams have a lot of room to get better. So I mean, there's not the pecking order is not very clear right now. We have the teams that are undefeated and have a marquee win, and those are the teams that are at the top right now. And that's pretty much it. They've all looked, vulnerable at certain points.
Yeah. Yep. And so to follow up on the Washington thing, Mike, you cannot be a one-dimensional offense because a good or even a decent defense with a good coordinator will destroy a one-dimensional offense.
I mean, I know that, obviously, Penix is an all-star right now, and they're putting up crazy passing numbers. Is the running game really that bad? Because I didn't notice it.
They don't. They don't really try to. I think that they run it just to. It's like, hey, we're going to do it, but it's like it's not one of those things where they are actively trying to. The run game is a significant part of that offense.
So what are they, 70-30?
As far as I'd have to look at the numbers on that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what their tendencies are, but they
50-50 last week.
Last year they were not good at. They didn't really run the ball at all. It was a lot of. It was high volume passing, but
you want to do that against Michigan State, though. I mean, they got the worst secondary the last
they've been
2 years
there for a while.
But I guess, but what Spaz said that they lost their 2 top running backs and they lost 3 players on their interior offensive line to either graduation or the draft. So they have not shown. Let's put it that way. They have not shown the ability to run the ball, and there's some serious question marks in the run game.
They could be doing also kind of what Oregon's doing with Nick. They're kind of patting Penix stats against these teams that they know they can throw on.
Yeah.
So we could see. Yeah, we're gonna have to see when it gets to conference play when they start going against some, I would say a lot better defenses than they have.
Well, you could say this though. They look just as good as USC.
No, I think USC is a much more balanced attack. There you go, and they got the better quarterback. There you go as well.
I don't know, man. I think they look just as good.
Yeah, you're the guy who told me J.J. McCarthy last week, so there goes your credibility. So let's move on.
Yeah, well, hey, chestnut checkers, man. We had to get that bad game out of the way, man. That's all that was.
Okay.
And by the way, Washington plays Cal, so we're not.
Thank you.
Well, okay, Now Cal does have a decent defense.
That is a better defensive test. That is a better defensive test.
Okay. I will give them that. Yeah, but
all right. And
I shouldn't trash a fellow conference member like that.
Yeah, I got to drop this in here real quick because Erica is joining us late. So thank you, Erica, as always, because she's always here. Joining late, so it may have discussed already, but how about Illinois versus Penn State game? I think Penn State may not be a top 10 team. This is actually a game I did not get to watch. I did not get to watch this one.
I'm
not ready to say that. Yeah, no, I did. It's Penn. I mean, Penn State played fine. They didn't blow Illinois out of the water, and I think that's kind of where she's getting at.
Well, Illinois' defense is still good.
Yeah.
And the vibe I got out of that game is you gotta understand. Illinois lost a lot last year, but in terms of that game, I mean, they were in that game. It's just the offense, I think, turned it over 4 times, which, that's credit to Penn State as well. But they were in that game for the most part.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. They're the second best defense in the Big, but yeah.
Yeah, the final score was 30-13 Penn State.
Yeah.
So still a little closer maybe than people would like it to be.
No,
it was on the road. It was on the road. So.
Well,
it was close for most of the game.
Penn State was only favored by what? Wait, Penn State was only favored by what?
14.
14.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you win by 3 scores in conference on the road, that's a good enough win to me.
Yeah, I don't look at final scores though. I look at how the game played, and if you watch that game, it was a close game. That if Illinois doesn't, again, credit to Penn State, but if Illinois doesn't make some dumb mistakes with turnovers, I mean.
Well, let's put it this way. I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to put up 30 on Illinois. I'll just leave it at that.
Didn't Kansas put up like 40 the week before?
34.
Yeah,
34.
And Toledo beat them at 30-28.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Once they start getting into conference play, this is not going to be happening. Of course, a lot of that is they're in the West. But anyway, moving on from there.
Yeah, I was about to say their biggest hurdles maybe are Maryland.
Hey Tim, is Roger Dodger your troll account on here?
Oh no, their biggest hurdles are Michigan and Ohio State. What am I talking about? You talking about are you talking about Illinois?
I'm looking at their schedule and their games. Oh wait, is it?
Do we
you talking about Penn State? You talking about Illinois?
Illinois.
Oh, Illinois. Okay.
Yeah, Illinois.
Yeah. Erica says in the other chat, Illinois quarterback Luke Altmaier was picked off 5 times, and Penn State didn't take enough advantage of them fully.
That's probably fair. I mean, Drew Aller didn't play particularly great in this game, so that's fair.
I got a feeling Penn State's going to be better than that Saturday against Iowa.
I mean, and again, it's one performance. So I mean, and I still think Penn State is deserving of a top 10 ranking. I think
they're a top 10 team. I don't think anyone.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right. I mean, top 10 teams have subpar performances. Who would
what
you
top
put
10 team
in the top 10 over? Who would you put in the top 10 over Penn State if you don't think they're a top 10 team? Because every top 10 team has shown warts and not look great. I mean, so I mean, I don't.
I would put Utah.
Maybe in a different year with more complete teams. Maybe you'd say that, but no.
Yeah. I would put Utah in the top 10 because I mean I've been impressed
not over Penn State
without Cam Rising. No.
They haven't looked great either. They're kind of scraping by right now.
Yeah,
but without Rising, so I can kind of see the argument there. But Erica, we love you. We appreciate you always being here and supporting the channel. Mark does too, of course. So we're going to see what Penn State does. And same with Illinois. That might turn out later in the year to be an amazing win that Penn State got. If Illinois is a 8-9 win team, you never know. I mean, season's young. Well, I didn't say they're going to be. I said if they turn out to be. I mean, you calm down with a Clemson, man.
You said that like a cuss word, man.
No, I did not. I'm biting my tongue. I'm biting my tongue. Week 3 had its own share of surprises, near upsets. 1:30 in the morning Central Time, double overtime thrillers. for Colorado. Week 4 though is loaded.
Oh yeah.
Loaded.
What are your top 3 games that if you had to watch 3 games this weekend? That's a tough
Well, I
order.
think everyone's
That's a tough
number
order.
1 is obvious. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Ohio
Everyone wants to
State
see
game.
everyone definitely wants to see Rutgers and Michigan.
Clemson,
Yeah.
Florida State's is a really good one I want to watch.
Cover your ears, Jordan. No, it's not going to be good to watch.
I don't know, man. You see Florida State?
I
disagree.
I can't
But
see.
You got to
Clemson
remember they
scoring on
played
Florida
the
State.
worst conference week 1. You got to remember
Hold on.
that.
Let's go one at a time here. Let's go one at a time. Jordan, name your 3 games you have to watch. You can name your own team if you want to, because of course.
Well, I mean, I think Ohio State Notre Dame obviously is. I mean, that's a top 10 matchup. Let me actually pull. It would be great to pull this up, because there's so many great games. But
Exactly, it's
Ohio State
loaded.
Notre Dame. I think Clemson Florida State is going to be much more competitive than people think. I don't think Florida State is as great as they. I think Florida State's a top 10 team. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think Florida State is as great as they show. I don't think Clemson is as bad. Especially on the Clemson part, I don't think they're as bad as people think they are. Obviously, there's some bias there, but I don't think that week 1 performance is predictive of what the team itself is capable of. And you got to remember, it's still Clemson is at home, and they still have a lot of talent. And they didn't play anybody great the last 2 weeks, but they definitely didn't shoot themselves in the foot like they did in that first week. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Florida State was looking ahead. I know there's some rumors that Florida State had the flu, so against Boston College, maybe that's true. But they also have some guys injured. Jordan Travis got banged up in that game. I don't know. We'll see. Scrolling through, I'm trying to. There's some really.
He landed on his wrist. I thought he broke that thing. If anybody was watching that game, I thought he broke that thing.
Yeah,
I was surprised he came back in.
It looked a lot worse than it ended up being. Man, UCLA, Utah. I've got my eye on that one, or Alabama, Ole Miss. I'd like to see how that one plays out. I know you said 3, but it's kind of hard to name 3. So I'll go Ohio State, Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida State, and then let's go Utah, UCLA, because those are undefeated teams.
Yeah.
That's where we go.
Since I like trolling the chat, I'm gonna call it the Notre Dame game. So I'm gonna be interested in the Notre Dame game this week, and then the number 2 game will be the UCLA Utah game. I think that's actually be a really good game, and then staying in the Pac-12. I'm interested to see that Oregon State Washington State game. And you know what? I get to stay on Fox for all those games except for the Ohio State game. But I get to stay on Fox for all 3, and then SC at night.
There you go. That makes it easy, doesn't it?
It makes it easy.
Oh yeah.
Mike, what do you got? What are your top 3 if you had to pick 3? It's tough. It is.
Yeah, Ohio State Notre Dame has got to be number 1. I would say probably 2. Already mentioned was Alabama Ole Miss. If I was to go 3rd, after what I saw last night, I got to see if Colorado can really take it to Oregon, because everything I've seen so far says Oregon's going to be able to tee off on Colorado, and this undefeated streak ends, and at some point in time, Deion's going to have to be put in front of a camera and start answering questions.
And they're doing it without Travis Hunter, so that game's over before the kick.
That's a good answer too, Mike. And I don't look at lines or projections, but Oregon went up now negative -20.5, I think it was, from 18 last night with the Hunter news. It dropped even further for more in favor for it. Doesn't mean anything necessarily, but we'll see what happens. Spaz, I know you're going to be a homer. What are your 3?
Actually, my 3 are obviously Notre Dame, Ohio State, Florida State, Clemson, and Oregon, Colorado. And I'm with Jordan. I mean, Clemson looked really bad, and we all gave Jordan a lot of shit that first week, but they definitely don't look like they did in week 1, and Florida State doesn't look as impressive as they did against LSU. And whether they had the flu or whatever, they should have lost that game. And there's a couple of games that I felt late Saturday were officiatedly kind of favored, and that was the fourth quarter of that Florida State Boston College game, and definitely the fourth quarter and overtime of Colorado State. There was some suspect penalties called towards the end of both of those games, a couple of different critical times that I think could have swung the momentum either way, both those games.
Jackson, you're definitely involved in this because obviously you guys have a big one this week.
Yeah. This is a pretty tough list for me, but I will say number 1 is Ohio State Notre Dame. Number 2 is going to be Iowa Penn State. Number 3 is going to be Oregon State Washington State for me. Well, I mean, for number 4, 5, and 6. Well, for 4 and 5, I got like Bama, Ole Miss at 4, and I'm gonna say Oregon, Colorado at 5.
That's why I was like, it's hard to pick.
Yeah.
Just a few.
I mean, I could go on about like the rest of my like top 20 list, but then
Top 20?
be all like we'll be all growing beards by that time.
Jackson does what I do. I have 2 monitors. I have like 4 games going at once, and then I flip back and forth on the screens, like to other games, even if something starts going awry. And no, Connor, you cool it over there, you silly beaver. Go blue. What are your 3? If you have,
I'm gonna pick because when I pick, out of this, I'm gonna pick in degree in terms of a toss up. So the biggest toss up is obviously Indy, Ohio State. I don't know what way that game's gonna go. I just don't. They both got new quarterbacks. They're both pretty unknown in terms of what's proven on their teams. So that's number 1. I think I'm gonna pick Indy to beat up on our little bro. The son of JJ. I'm gonna pick that. Number 2 is Clemson, Florida State. I wouldn't be surprised if Clemson wins that game. Look, Florida State did play the worst conference. Their biggest win is the worst conference. So I wouldn't be surprised. And also, if you watch that Florida State Boston College game, man, they left a lot to be desired. So I don't know which way that game is going to go. Number 3, Penn State, Iowa. Toss-up game to me. Not really as much as a toss-up as the other 2, but I just want to see that offense against Iowa's defense. And Colorado, Oregon's not really a toss-up to me. I think Oregon's going to wipe the floor with Colorado. Absolutely wipe the floor. I don't even think it's going to be close. So I'm not even going to put that in the conversation.
I got a question for the Pack guys. Do you think UCLA escapes Rice-Eccles with a win?
No.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a toughie. If Rising is playing, I really think it's going to be. You're going to see a different Utah team. That's why, even except for the fact that I have to watch the Oregon game, even though I won't be on the post game this weekend. I'll be in Georgia.
I'll be honest.
Other stuff. I'd still have to pick UCLA. Utah would definitely have to be one of the games, and then Oregon State, Wazoo. I think that's just it's in the Palouse. It's one of those just wild locations where anything can happen. And then I guess I'd have to go Ohio State, Notre Dame. I kind of see Iowa, Penn State though too. I do want to see them against a good defense, like a really good defense. I mean, Iowa does have a defense. So
yeah, they got the 3rd best defense in the Big Ten, man. Defensive conference. So that's going to be the first real test they play in terms of defense.
Because other than that, a lot of these are going to be like USC is going to wipe the floor with Arizona State. We don't have to worry about that. Tim, you have 2 bye weeks in a row. Put your second string in and just whatever.
Well, and Mike, to answer your question, nobody escapes Rice-Eccles Stadium with a win. I mean, that's just not going to happen.
The thing is, here's what I say: if Rising's not playing,
Yeah,
a lot of teams, USC could have gone to Rice-Eccles last year without Rising. Let's face it, and won that game pretty easily.
Yes,
but the thing is I'm not with UCLA. I think
they've got altitude.
They've got a great like front seven, but how deep are they? And to go to Rice-Eccles and to win the fourth quarter, you need depth, and so that's where they might have trouble.
Well, that's why if Rising's playing, it's a whole different game.
If
it
Rising
might be a really good game in the fourth, but if Rising's not playing, then Utah's going to have maybe a little more issue.
If Rising
is playing, okay, cool.
I don't.
Then I take Utah. Utah.
Larry's saying he's playing. So, but here's the thing, Larry, I'd love to hear you on this one. How rusty is he? Is there going to be, because there's going to be some kind of rust, coming. I know he's been, obviously, if he's ready to go, he's probably been practicing, but going to first game. What about Keefe? Is Keefe ready to go?
That's why I think I want to watch that game even more. I want to watch that game even more especially if Rising playing, because I want to see what the difference is in that offense.
Dante Moore has not looked bad. I mean, it wouldn't shock me.
That's hard to say from a Duck, I bet. That probably hurts you a lot to say that, but he looks he's the real deal. He looks solid. He's just gonna get better every game. But you're right. It's not just the altitude. You go into Rice-Eccles, you got to deal with the MUS, which is their student section. And the Pac-12, rightfully so, gets a lot of crap for having a lot of wine and cheese fans, but that's not the case in Salt Lake City. Those guys are loud, and it's like Husky Stadium. It's like Washington. It's like Reeser. There's like half the stadiums. Well, the farther Pacific North you get, actually, and also when you go out to Salt Lake, there's a totally different fan base. Those fan bases can go with anyone in the country. So having a young Dante Moore, that's a good point, Spaz. Having a young Dante Moore going into their maybe his third game ever in college, that's gonna be a hell of a test for any young quarterback.
Yeah, that's why I'm like.
UCLA has gotten back to the Chip Kelly formula as well, and they're running the crap out of the ball. They ran 408 yards or whatever last week. Granted, it was against nobody, but 400 yards in rushing on the ground a game is that's doing your work.
Yeah, their receiver also, but it's also throwing the ball. The reason why freshman Dante Moore is looking so good is because you do have the transfer from Cal. I always forget this guy's name. Someone help me out.
Chase Garber.
No, the receiver. Yeah, but also what's his name? Servant, right? Yeah, that guy's legit. That guy could take the lid off of any defense, and that loosens up the run. So I mean, it's a great compliment to each other. Yeah, Servant. And then they got Kyle Ford. He's serviceable, and they have one other receiver. But so they have an offense and they have a defense. They have a really good defense. They got a great pass rush. Matter of fact, they're I know they've played him when they played in FCS school, but in 2 games in the Pac-12, they have the best yards per play in the entire Pac-12 defensively. So they're a solid front seven, but like for all the reasons we just named, it's to be a hostile crowd, and you're playing at altitude, and you can play for 3 quarters, but just like you always see, USC always gets a big lead going into Rice-Eccles, the first 3 quarters, and then they run out of gas because you're at altitude. And if you don't have the depth to run guys in, and I don't think that UCLA has the depth to cycle in there on the front seven, they're going to run out of gas. So they're going to have to get a good lead. The good news for them, though, is the Utes just haven't been scoring for obvious reasons. No Keefe, no Rising. But you're saying Rising's back. It'll be interesting to see how many points they can put up and what kind of a boost at home, because they'll be jacked up for that game with Rising coming back. So it'll be a great game.
I will say one thing Utah always does, and I was afraid this year they would do it again. Utah always starts the year slow. Then they get better as the year goes on. So without Rising already, they've already exceeded their normal beginning season expectation. So if Rising comes back and is sharp, the Pac-12 better watch out. I mean, all of us better watch out for the Utes again.
Well, I think Utah's going to have a harder time with Oregon State than they will UCLA, but that's just my take on Utah, UCLA for now.
It's just gonna be a really good game.
Yeah.
Tim's just lucky they don't have to play Oregon State this year. He's
No,
happy about that. He's happy about that.
I'm happy.
Lucky. He's happy about that. Though.
I'm so glad we're dodging the Beavers. We only have to play the Ducks. They're a lot easier. So I am glad this year we pulled the easy one up north.
Come on to Autzen. We'll see how that works out, Tim. We'll see. We'll be talking shit that weekend. Or I won't show up, one or the other.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We got a ways till then.
Well, we'll know a lot about college football by then. That's the end of November.
Yeah, exactly. We have a while till then. We'll know a lot more about each team and where we stand. Gentlemen, is there anything else you would like to cover from week 3 or look at week 4 specifically? Anything else?
Oh, man, I'm still pretty impressed with West Virginia beating Pitt. I mean, they've gotten they've kind of bought some time for Neil Brown. So that was a pretty big win there.
I'm of the opinion that Pitt is just that bad. I'm not going to lie. Offensively, they can't get anything going. Phil Draco, I think he completed 8 passes the entire night.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to run the ball, and that's kind of been a trend the past couple of seasons. The receivers,
8 out of 20.
Yeah,
81 yards. That's insane.
Yeah, that's pretty awful.
Oh Lord.
And he not on page with the receiver. Even in Pitt's loss last week, it was the same problems to a lesser degree, and it was just exacerbated yesterday. I don't know what's going on. And the defense and I've been most disappointed with the defense because that's kind of been their calling card. I mean, under Pat Narduzzi, they've always had a really stout front seven. They're really aggressive. They're typically tops in the country in sacks and tackles for loss. And they lost a lot of pieces from last year to the draft, which is probably what has a lot to do with it. But they have not played well up to this point. But they gave them a chance in this game. They weren't the reason they lost.
I will say, though, I was pretty impressed by Rutgers smacking around Virginia Tech. But then again, this isn't the Virginia Tech of old anymore.
Say Virginia Tech is bad this year.
Yeah.
True. But hey, Rutgers is 3-0. Congrats to Greg Schiano.
Hey, there you go. I mean, they might be the lucky 5-7 team at the end of the year because of their academics.
I had them 6-6. I think they can make a bowl game this year. Well, one thing I'm just glad to see is that this is the first year where I can look at the field and say there's no one team I think is dominant. It seems like parity is at an all-time high right now, and I know it's been mentioned before, but there's no team I can look at and say you don't have your warts. You don't have your flaws.
Remember, I would say this for the teams that are breaking in new quarterbacks, especially. Give them 3 or 4 games before saying this is who they are. For like a USC or for a Michigan who are returning their quarterback, that's who we are, right? Bo Nix, that's who they are. But if you have places like Ohio State, like Georgia, like even Alabama, give them 3 or 4 because we should. It's the young quarterback coming in, even if they aren't young like in class. They're still new starters. We'll know who these teams are in about week 4 or 5. You know what I mean, Mike?
Well, I mean, if you look at Georgia's problem right now, at least on offense, isn't Carson Beck. It's their run game. So, I mean, I discount,
here's what I'll say about Georgia. I remember last year they had games against Kent State and Missouri, and there was one other one in there where you would have thought they weren't the number 1 team in the country, but we all knew when push came to shove that they were going to play like the number 1 team in the country. So I'm not going to judge too much on that until further in the season when it comes to Georgia.
Well, they're going to have to fix their running problems because, I mean, Carson Beck, I like to say, even though he's new, I don't really see anything from him and say, he can't do it. But like I said,
if you follow Georgia,
they've had a lot of running back injuries.
I was gonna say, if you follow Georgia, they're run. A lot of fans of Georgia knew that their running game was going to take a step back because they don't really have any big time running backs this year. They're kind of mid in the running back department, so they kind of saw that coming. But it's Kirby Smart. He's got the best program in the country right now, and we've seen them play sloppy games before and still win the championship. So I'm gonna hold off on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, so really quickly on all those thoughts, those are all good ideas, but I'll go back to what I said. It's just too small of a sample size to say we can really take, a lot from these first 3 games. But if the first 3 weeks, first 2 games, whatever your team is, my point though is I think we're finally we're talking about parity. We're starting to finally see what the new football is, right? You can't stack your roster anymore. Georgia and Alabama and schools like that, they're not 3, 4, 5 deep in these positions anymore because these kids aren't playing and they go and find somewhere else to play. So I think we're starting to see the beginning of that. And I'm going to be interested, and also with NIL, the concentration of talent is spreading out. It's not going to be at 3 schools, 4 schools anymore. And I'm wondering how much of that is becoming present even at this early date. I think it's a bit early for that, but I think we're starting to see the first days of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, someone stole Ben's. Anyone have one more idea for?
Quick shout out for Oklahoma. I mean, I was hesitant on Venables, but he's proven himself right now.
So they have a really soft schedule. Not that anyone else is playing anything really hard. I'm going to be curious to see how much ground they've made up on Texas. When we watch them play Texas, that's a ways away. Not that long. But I mean, when we see them play Texas, that's when we'll know. Because if you look at their schedule, if they don't win 9, 10 games with that schedule, then there still will be, we could reserve judgment because we'll see it's year 2. But nobody, would you agree? There's no way that Oklahoma should be losing more than 2, 3 games with that schedule.
I agree with that, but the thing is that there's only a handful of teams that could do 73-0 against high school teams, let alone another, college.
I will disagree with that a little bit because I feel like a lot of the top teams they choose not to. I think USC could put up, if they wanted to put up 100 on Stanford, I think they could have.
I think the 73. I think the 73 part of that's possible. I don't think the 0 part is. Sorry, Tim.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, we just scored 56. We pulled our quarterback at halftime. Like literally,
if they played Michigan's defense, they would have had 0.
Yeah,
but we're not going to score 100.
That's not our style, though. So I mean,
I'm looking at Oklahoma's schedule. They should not lose any games until they play Texas. I mean, Cincinnati and Iowa State should be wins right there.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, I just wonder by how much they'll beat them exactly. But the Red River rivalry, we'll know more about them. I just really hope people don't treat Brent Venables like they did at Harbaugh from 2019 to 2021.
That's a good point. You got to be patient.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't want it to be where people think way too much about his results against Texas, but they're not thinking about everything else.
Well, Venables is bringing in talent. This is the perfect situation for Oklahoma going into SEC. Venables is a great defensive coordinator. Question mark on how good of a head coach he's going to be, but he is recruiting like a madman. He's bringing in some serious talent, especially on defense. And so, we're probably have to wait till year 3, I think, to really know who they are. I don't think they have the team right now to compete, but we'll see. Again, we're going to know a lot about this team after they play Texas.
That is for sure, though. And what really helps is they don't have Kansas State on their schedule, so that's a big help.
Yeah. Well, Felipe, Felipe is calling it. They're going undefeated with Dylan Gabriel as their quarterback.
Then
If
15
he
and 0.
stays healthy, if he stays healthy, I mean, they would have been a lot better last year. I think.
If they get past Texas, I could absolutely see 12-0 at this point. I mean, I think that could happen. But that Texas game, again, that Texas game was going to tell us everything.
Didn't Gabriel get hurt last year?
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, that was one of their big downfalls because then they lost all their offense even.
Everybody kind of spazzed out on Brent Venables for that one bad year.
I do want to kind of.
Hey, I didn't, but for obvious reasons. But
I do want to kind of say one of the most entertaining games this weekend, actually, surprisingly, I'm just looking at the list for some reason. It just caught my eye. BYU at Kansas.
Yeah.
That actually might be a very entertaining game to watch.
And that game
Zero interest on this part here. Zero interest in this quarter of the world. I'll tell you that right now.
Hey, man, Michigan Rutgers, man.
I will be flipping between Oregon, Colorado, UCLA, Utah, Bama, Ole Miss, and BYU, Kansas, man. I mean, Jalen Daniels going up against
those all 12:30.
No, all the other ones are 2:30, and then the other ones are like 6 and 6:30. There's so many that overlap. That's why it's like, eesh.
Like BYU's first Big 12 conference game at Lawrence, Kansas. That's going to be a great sight to see on ESPN 2:30 next Saturday.
And let's not forget, Kansas almost lost to Nevada, who might be the worst team in the country. So let's pump the brakes on how great Kansas is going to be.
Yeah, Texas.
Hey, man.
Well, that's why I said it might be entertaining because it's going to be like, it might just turn into a shootout.
Yeah. But, I mean, nobody's bringing their age.
12:30 games.
Huh?
There's 4 solid 12:30 games. 5. Yeah, 4. UCLA, Utah, Mississippi, Alabama, Maryland, 3-0. We forgot them. Michigan versus Michigan State, and we have the Colorado game. There's 5 games.
You said Michigan versus Michigan State?
Maryland.
No, Maryland, Michigan
I was going to
State.
say, they don't play till.
Maryland's
gonna beat the hell out of Michigan State. Man.
Yeah, that's a game.
Yeah,
Hey, so
I think
sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Michigan State's kind of giving up on 2023. But I'd wonder if Mark D'Antonio's coming back for a second stint as head coach, though.
I don't think his coach can handle that. He's an analyst. He's not even
I'd love
head
to beat
coach
up on him again.
Again? D'Antonio whooped us.
Oh, we had towards the end, man. We was getting back. He retired. He knew it was coming.
Hey, so Rick brings a really good point up here. Is can Kiffin and Sark take down Saban and Bama in the same month?
Ooh,
good
That's
question.
pretty big tagline for
very possible.
Notorious for always whipping on his former.
The way to take down the Crimson Tide is you better make sure you got a really good offense.
Mark, if you're out there,
sorry. If you guys lose to Kiffin next week, the title will be of the show next Sunday. Bama, it's over.
Well, Kiffin has a pretty interesting week. He's had some stuff going on. There's a lot of drama for him this week, so might cause some distraction.
Yeah, that's true.
This is also true from Larry Pilgrim here. You don't lose to the bicycle college. Thank you, Larry. Well, you let Kansas know that. We're not worried about that. You let the Kansas Jayhawk fans know that. Because Arkansas didn't get that memo this Saturday.
Michigan Rutgers.
I do wonder if Rocket Sanders is going to come back from his knee injury, though, for next week. I'm not sure.
If he doesn't, that's
hey,
a pretty big deal.
I would tune in. I would tune in to Michigan Rutgers if you want to see the next generational defense. Only reason to tune in.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
I mean, you're going against Rutgers. Rutgers next Saturday.
Rutgers has a decent defense, but their offense is pretty bad, so that's not really a measuring stick.
And that's why it's hard to gauge any of these teams to a degree, or like we said, even the conferences as a whole at this point still, because you've seen teams play certain types of teams, or some haven't had true road games yet or road tests. And it's hard to gauge exactly who is what, plus people are busting in, breaking in new players. And let's give it 2 or 3 more games, and then we'll see. If everyone's still at the same spot, then we'll have a much better
or if you're Michigan, wait 6 more games, because there's literally
Might be longer than that.
There's no universe where Michigan doesn't go 9-0 in a literal walk. So we don't know what kind of team we're going to have until midway through.
Hey man, but Mike Ford, I'm going to say this. I'm saying it right now. I think Michigan going to have a 2016 Bama, 21 Georgia as defense this year. I know they're going to sound crazy to people, but I'm calling my shot.
Okay, so next subject, please.
All right. I'm
you heard it. You heard it here first.
I think you might want to go back and watch those defenses again. But
hey, man, I'm telling you, man. I'm just saying, you're gonna see. Or you should already see, but you're gonna see it more.
Okay. Well, our defense is gonna be great, but comparing our offense to anything like 2019 LSU or any of the
that's a little crazy. I'll give you that. That's a little crazy. But this defense, I'm being real about the defense, man. This defense, I get goosebumps all along my arms and stuff, man, when I watch the defense.
Okay, well,
that's a little junior. Yeah, we didn't even know that info.
Name put out like 1 million first-round picks. Y'all, I'm going to hold you to that.
Hey, man.
We're going to have a lot of draft picks this year. I'll say that.
Five first-round defensive pick like Georgia did.
I don't know how many. I don't think there's going to be more than
a lot of the main guys that are staying though. That would be picks like Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. Those two are the best defensive tackle. Well, and with Chris Jenkins, they're just the best interior D line in the country this year, bar none.
All right.
We'll see. Let's go. I'll tell you what, though, you will put up big numbers because you are in the Big Ten, and quite frankly, there's like 3 teams with an offense in that conference. So we'll see.
Instead of holding Ohio State to 23 this year, we're going to hold them to 10.
Well, if you are like the 19 Georgia team, you would.
I heard like 1 million keyboards. Well, not 1 million. There's only 121 people listening to, but I definitely heard a lot of keyboards just start going after that sentence. Good Lord.
I want to tag that. Well, gentlemen, thank you as always, because I think next week we're going to have even more to talk about, especially as we start getting into conference play. I think that's where the big, that's where it all comes together. So please, if you want to, Jordan, without keeping everyone up till like 2 a.m, like we almost did last week, I think, Eastern time. Go ahead and promote yourself and do your thing.
Wait, really quick before we go to Jordan, can you guys make sure if there's 122 of you, by the time they get to me, there'll be like 2 people watching. So can you go ahead right now and hit the like button and subscribe? You guys haven't already done so. Appreciate all you guys being here.
Yeah, make sure you guys do that. But you can find me on Twitter, X, whatever, at Jobo0209 right there on the screen. Make sure you guys check out me and Tiger Paul Craven on the Clemson Voice of College Football channel. We go live every Thursday at 7 p.m. and after every Clemson game for the post-game show. So make sure you go over there, subscribe, check us out. We're trying to build that channel. And, thank you guys for tuning in.
Same thing here. Join us over on the USC Voice of College Football. Tomorrow night, Matt, Mark, and I will be talking USC. I don't know, in our bye week. I doubt we'll have much to talk about for ASU, but, we'll probably talk about some superlatives and what's been going on so far in the first 3 games. Might even take some phone calls, but they're not phone call guys, but I'll see if I can talk to them in some phone calls. So any Trojans out there, if you guys want to make some calls tomorrow, we got a new phone line. You guys be able to call in. You don't have to come in on StreamYard. And then on Wednesday, we have the Pac-12 show, always with Chris, and Rick and Tony and myself. So feel free to join us on Wednesday as well. And then next Saturday, Rick's going to be at Tustin Brewing Company for our post-game show. Tony and I will be in studio, but check that out. It's going to be really great. He's going to have some guests, some surprise guests there at the Tustin Brewing Company. So a lot going on this week.
There you go, Mike.
You're not going to find me anywhere but here. No Twitter, no Instagram, no Snapchat, no Facebook, no MySpace, no whatever you kids are using these days. The only place you're going to find me is on the Voice of College Football.
Michigan, folks. It's all good.
Yep.
You will catch everyone on Mark's call-in show. So there you go.
Yeah, and if you're an Ohio State fan, you also see me on your dartboard.
There you go. Hey.
I'm Spaz at the Rocky Classic, as it says down below. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, pretty much anything. TikTok. John Bryant 75 on TikTok. Trying to get my followers up. You'll also see me on Tuesday nights doing the Oregon Live preview show of the upcoming week's opponents, and this week is going to be a very fun one because we get to destroy Dion, or Peon Dion, as the shirts are now being put out here in Eugene, and it'll be fun. Also join us Saturdays post game for all Oregon football relations. That's it.
Jackson, I see you are hard at work there. He's copy and pasting a lot of people in there in the chat, dropping their Twitter links. That's always appreciated from Jackson. So make sure, Jackson, you always promote yourself and what you got going on.
Well, I got my next episode of the Jacksonian Thursday with the host of Locked On Buckeyes, Jay Stevens, as we will talk a little bit about Ohio State, Notre Dame, what the strengths and weaknesses are, amongst other topics. And you can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and of course on YouTube.
All right. Yeah. Make sure everyone check out all the links Jackson's dropping. Those are direct links to everyone's account, so it makes it easier for you. Go Blue. Where can people find you?
Hey, everybody check out the merchandise for Voice of College Football top notch. You would have thought it was designed by the top designers in the country. Just saying, you can't tell the difference. You just slap that Voice of College Football on there, and it's almost like you're wearing some designer product. Anyways, yeah, man. So I'm excited, man. You know, I think last game, I think the coaches pulled JJ aside. They were like, hey, man, look, we kind of want to test his defense in certain situations, so we need you to turn the ball over a couple times, man. I know you don't like to do that, but we kind of want to put them in a disadvantage situations, see how they hold up. And they held up well. So they did what we thought they would do. It was getting kind of boring out there. So I'm excited about the future, man. I ain't worried about it. It's chestnut checkers. And that's what we do out here. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited for Notre Dame, Ohio State. Can't wait for that game, toss-up game. Yeah, I'm excited. So yeah, go Blue, of course. And can't wait for this coming weekend. It's gonna be fun.
You heard it here first. Go Blue predicts JJ will throw 5 picks this week, not 3.
No, we got that out of the system. Time to get back to normal programming. You know, the 33rd NFL team back in action.
All right. It's quite the predictions here. I'm just Ben here. I'm exploring Ben and Sam. This show wouldn't happen without everyone here in the chat, and then of course everyone here on the panel. Otherwise, you would just be staring at my ugly face for an hour, and that would be really boring and terrifying. So I appreciate everyone in the chat, all the super chats. That helps the channel, helps Mark out a lot. Everyone who hits like and subscribe, checks out all the other channels, watches those videos, helps a lot. Again, thank you to the panel here. And please make sure you check out the starting tomorrow, the Ohio State Notre Dame analysis and review show, 11 a.m. Eastern here on the main channel, as well as all week long about the big upcoming games this week, as well as the watch party this coming Saturday for everyone here on YouTube. Mark, I'm sure we'll be posting more about that, so please check out the community tab. And you will find me every Tuesday night doing the Oregon Ducks live show, as well as Saturdays doing the Oregon postgame show with Spaz and others. And then every Sunday right here on the main channel for College Football After Dark, as well as Exploring with Ben and Sam here on YouTube. Search us, check out our stuff. If you like it, cool. It's not sports related, but it is what it is, right? So, again, thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you to the panel, Jordan, Tim, Mike, Spaz, Jackson, Go Blue. Appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you guys. And until next week, guys, don't worry. There's still a lot more football to go.
Thank God.
Next week's only going to get better.
Yep, we're having some awesome games. Stay tuned.
We'll see you guys next
I
week.
can't believe I'm saying this, but go Notre Dame, man. Beat them suck guys.
Four more. Oh wait, yeah, that's a good idea. Hold on, sorry, I forgot. I totally forgot. I've forgotten for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, you got to put it up this week.
You got to put it up.
I almost totally forgot.
It's tradition.
Where is it? No.
When
Someone
you're
changed
trolling through South Bend.
No, someone changed the background imagery. There we go. Got it. Until next week, everyone. Have fun.